And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Sapiens, Guide Your Tribe Through the Valley. Has some really cool artwork on the cover, and this has it's a game with like dominoes, where you're going to be placing down tiles and leading your tribe. So I was very intrigued to try this one out. Let's see how it plays, and then we'll be back. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to take two half boards and put them together to make kind of a randomized board. So really, there's lots of different combinations. And essentially, those combinations are just going to be the different numbers on here and the combinations of trees versus plains. Each player is also going to put a bunch of tokens of their color around the outside of the board. And then players are going to decide what to start with. Players will have a personal group of tiles. These tiles show different types of terrain on them, and they're going to start with one of these tiles. It has to start out of one of these caves. So, for example, I could take this mammoth one here and place it here, where I put the mammoth on top of that and comes out like that. And then I would get to keep this tile, which I'll be able to use later on as a special ability. Whenever you take a tile, you'll then replace it with one from the common pool in the middle, and then replace the tiles in the common pool. And players on future turns are going to be attaching to this one. Now that would be actually a really bad one for me to have started with, because none of my future tiles will attach to that. So what I would hope for would be a tile that would match that that type of terrain. So let's say I played this one here later on. I could play that one here, and then maybe place this one here. When you put a tile down, each thing that it touches has to match. So I can't put any tile there because it won't match both this terrain and that terrain. But I might, and I can't put this one here because the mammoth hooks up with the mammoth, but doesn't hook up with the rock. So as you're placing these down, you can put them in different spots. Now when you're placing a tile down, the spots that you cover up you're going to get food points. When you first start a tile, there's going to be next to it some shelter points that you will get. And if you ever manage to make one of your tiles go into another spot, so let's say I got over here and then I had a rock and a tree tile, I would be able to play that tile like this to go into there, and then I would also get shelter points. I'd get 6 shelter points. If you're ever stuck and you ever can't play a tile for whatever reason, you have to start anew at one of your other starting spots, and then you would get the lower number, which is going to, again, shelter points. Now over here, you're going to keep track of your shelter points and food points. Food points are mostly gotten from covering up tiles. There's a couple other things that you get when you attach different tiles of the same type. And shelter points you get from hitting those outside areas. And at the end of the game, you're going to get whatever one's lower. So if I had 20 shelter points and 23 food points, my score is going to be 20. You take the lower one. Now when you attach tiles, they will give you a special ability that you can do. Each special ability is different. So for example, when I attach these two orange here, those give me 3 shelter points. When I attach these 2 mountain tokens here, I can take off any one of my tokens on the board here that I can use later on. I can even take off these ones in the waterfall spots, which you can't get for, usually for any other reason. Now, one thing I do want to notice is that when you're placing tiles, there are some restrictions. You'll notice some of these tiles have trees. Trees can only be placed on trees. Anything can be placed on a tree, but a tree can't be placed on a plane. Think of it as in it's easy to cut trees down, but you can't grow new ones. So there is that restriction, and then there's the other restrictions of placing things. When you place 2 mammoths next to each other, you get a steak token. You can then sell all your steak tokens for food, so you can do it right away, which would give you 1 food point, but you might want to save up 5 steak tokens to get 10 food points. Of course, that would require you to have a lot of them next to each other. Some things let you put down bear tokens. You can put a bear token on someone else's board, and basically they can't go into that spot. So they would have to play 2 next to each other to take the bear token off. Others let you do a fight point. Each player has fight tokens, which they can place on someone else's tile, or they can place on a tile in the common pool, and if someone else takes that tile, then that person would lose a food point, and you would get a food point from them. And then if you put two of the bone tiles next to each other, you get to play an additional tile. And if you play two waters next to each other, you get to swap a tile with somebody else. And that's essentially how the game is going to work. Now, when the game is over, I already told you the game's going to be over when players can't place tiles any longer. Over here, then, you will look at your two scoring tokens, and whichever scoring token is lower, that's your final score. Highest score wins the game. Now, Sapiens has some interesting ideas and the colorful artwork, and it just looks like this fun, light game. It is not light, really. In fact, you have to be very cautious in this game. It's very easy. As you saw when I first placed that first initial tile, if I looked at my other tiles and the tiles in the common pool, I could essentially be shutting myself down, or then I would have to start a new tribe the next round, which is kind of a very big setback to some degree. Other people are putting out tiles and connecting them. And there's a couple problems I have with that. The game is much heavier than this light cover allows you to be, but at the same time you're kind of constricted by the tiles that are available. As I put these tiles out, it's like, ooh, I can put this one out. What can I attach to it? Oh, nothing. Okay, I'll put this one out. Okay, I can attach that one to it. And so you can maybe set yourself up sometimes, and sometimes you can do some pretty cool things setting tiles up. But it's still kind of the vagaries of the tiles that will show up or all is going to guide you a lot more than I would have preferred. If I'm going to be able to put tiles out and place them around the board and do different things, I want a little bit more freedom doing that. This was very constrictive as to what tiles you put out. So these bonuses, which are cool, are kind of like, oh, I connected these. All right, what bonus do I get? Rather than, what bonus would I be interested in getting? And because of that, I felt like the gameplay suffered. Now, I know some people are going to like this. Some people are going to like the difficulty. I mean, because it really is a struggle here. Trying to figure out what tiles go here. And, oh, wait, I was going to put that one there, but a tree can't go on the plane. I want to put that one there, but if I put that one there, I can't use any more tiles. Not to mention other players can mess you over with bears. And the bear thing can be, go after the player in first place, but who is the player in first place? And it essentially just goes after someone else. And the person who put the bear out wasn't necessarily trying to be mean. They just happened to connect two tiles that allowed them to do so. And then there's those fighting tiles. You put them out and someone has to pay you food points. And again, that's okay. But the whole thing just felt artificial. I don't know how else to describe it. I look at this cute artwork and everything. Like, ooh, wow, you put tiles down, you get bonuses. It sounds really interesting. But so many times I'd sit there and going, all right, fine. I guess I have to put this tile out because I had no other choice. And then when I put that one out, I'll draw some tiles to take its place. And I'll draw this one, I hope. Or especially in a 4-player game, oh, there's a tile I need. Someone else is going to take it. So because of that, I just didn't have fun playing this game. I thought it was an interesting idea. I thought it was, I liked the different boards. I liked the bonuses. I liked the thought of the game. But when it came down time to playing it, it just wasn't entertaining for me. It was more sitting there going, And again, I'm not opposed to that kind of abstracted thought out, except that most of the time I'm sitting there going, how could I survive this? Because I made this tile placement and I was going to connect it with that tile, but now I can't. So this is for some people. I'm sure a lot of people will like it. They'll probably like a lot of the same things that I liked about it. But hopefully they'll like the final product better than me, because when you put it all together, it just doesn't work. Dice Tower Judgment, interesting, but just not fun enough for me.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.